Hollywood is facing a reckoning. That's right. Recently, a John Nolte over at Breitbart wrote about Hollywood facing this particular reckoning, and I 100% agree. Although, I'm not really going to take very much from his article, aside from just saying, yeah, we're there. And to be fair, I've been singing this song now for, well, about 3 years, or as long as I've been on any of these streaming platforms. And for good reason, of course, I've been talking about this. It's because it's true. They're facing a reckoning, finally. There's a certain circular cycle of sadness in what Hollywood is caught up in at the moment, and that circle leads downward toward death. It's a death loop. It's probably the most accurate descriptor, and, well, it certainly is true. Let's talk about this cycle one more time, and maybe, just maybe, everybody's going to listen. At least, I hope so. Here we go. All right, let's start with my thanks for all of you watching my latest videos. It's been amazing, and your shares and your likes and your comments have really pushed the channel forward, so thank you. We're really building here, and it shows. And if you aren't subscribed right now, like 40% of all viewers, please take the time, just this one time, to hit that button to subscribe. It's absolutely free, and it will help push me over 10K, which is a goal I was trying to get completed, well, before the end of July. And, well, we're in August now, technically, or just about, depending upon when you're watching this video, and we're really close. So let's see if we can jump over the top. Now let's dive into this subject at hand, and of course it's the death of Hollywood.
You're being hyperbolic.
It sounds like a hyperbolic statement every time somebody says it, and yet it's been something that I've been saying many, many times, and I assure you, it's not hyperbole any longer. What we used to see in Hollywood is gone. It's gone. It's actually been gone for a while. The ideologues took over completely, and the idea of profit is a mere memory, and it's something they're trying to keep hidden. But let's step back a bit and look at all of entertainment from the entertainment company side of things, because that's what I like to do here. And all of the mega media companies right now are hemmed in by their stock price, by their investors. And those investors are looking for return on their investment. And back in the days when the companies weren't public, the financiers for the films were private. The films were a private profit venture. Things were motivated purely on the profit making and taking business principle, which was sound. Decisions could make or break a financier or ruin an entire studio, and oftentimes it did. Then the studios went public and brought in retail investors. This gave them greater stability, but also greater responsibility. You see, studios could survive a few bad films as long as they could put some together to keep everyone in the black on the balance sheet. The ROI, return on investment, became the order of the day. And that worked. It worked for a long time. Until it didn't, which is very recent. This change was brought about by something called institutional level investing. These are giant funds that are brought into entertainment companies because they're a stable industry, or they were sort of. And once again, let's be frank here, Disney is part of the Dow for a reason. It's a very stable company, or was. And at first, when all of these big institutional investors came in, it wasn't bad, and it also helped with, well, those institutional giant funds that were part of, well, something that you own right now, like a 401k or a Roth IRA or something that's a managed fund. And then all these wonderful institutional investors became corrupted by the same types of ideologues that were kept at bay in Hollywood for years and years, which is a problem. You see, now both ends of the business of entertainment were being corrupted, from the top down and from the bottom up. Hence the given age of garbage media that we have to contend with today. Yet now, Hollywood is at that final crossroads. After years of pushing the stakeholder nonsense, identitarian political agendas, and all of the divisiveness, they stand on the precipice of their final demise, and the sheer weight of their hypocrisy is taking them over the edge with a very simple catalyst. Labor is the Achilles heel that not only has stopped the juggernaut destroying our culture, it may possibly demolish it, scattering the pieces about and making way for something new, yet familiar. You see, the labor strike is about fair compensation, but of course it is, culture. But how so? Well, as Nolte recently pointed out in print, and I have been pointing out here for years, streaming doesn't make money. It's not in any way profitable. You can't even pretend it is. It's actually helped dismantle an incredibly efficient cash machine that was nearly a century in the making. It replaced 5 or more income streams with one. And that one stream is nothing even close to what those 5 or more could yield. There are 3 that were infinitely repeatable. And real quick, these simple mechanisms of profit for film, just film, are cinematic release, where the studios collect about 50% of gross receipts from the box office. Pay-per-view, which is a direct consumer product that, well, is just after the theatrical window. Premium cable viewing, which are movies that show up on like HBO and Showtime and Cinemax and Stars and places like that. And then you had basic cable leases of your product on like TNT and TBS and WGN. And finally, and a newly emerging phenomenon or re-emerging phenomenon, is Fathom Events type of re-releases, where an old print makes its way back into the cinemas through a special event. And look, I'm not a mathematician here. I'm just not. But even I can see that 5 or 7, various types of income streams are much, much greater. And we're just talking the film side of the equation here. As I said, television gets even wilder with its possibilities, and we're just going to stick with film at the moment. I'll do something on TV maybe later this week. But studios rely on film because it's the engine that keeps everything going. It's that amazing beast, or it was. And now they've replaced this robust and reliable roaring combustion engine with an RC motor and a 12 amp hour battery pack. The RC motor, of course, is streaming, and while it has a lot of torque up front, it runs out of steam very quickly. With streaming, everybody made the same mistake. All of these entertainment companies, they did these immense walled gardens that isolated their content from all of the others and all of the other income streams, for the most part. They also took the legs out from underneath their own films. That was a double whammy, and it was brought on by their own short-sighted greed. But back to the doom loop real quick, that Hollywood is kind of trapped in right now. Hollywood has always been reluctant to cut into people who are making their film and television. They didn't really want to give them a share of the profits. And above-the-line folks had fought for their little sliver years and years ago. It took them a long time to get it, too. But each time a new media type came into existence, like, again, DVD, Blu-ray, yada yada, they had to start fighting all over again to try and get a piece of those profits as well, because they weren't written into the original deal. And it seems that this may be happening for probably the final time with streaming. And I think everybody realizes that. And since it's probably the final advancement in content for a while, this one's getting pretty bloody. You see, and I've been saying this for years, in order to determine what's fair compensation for streaming, you have to have solid verifiable numbers, something that I enjoy. And they have to be something that you can audit and be available to be audited. They would have to be consistent across all the major and minor players. And this is the only way that you could offer fair compensation for streaming shows and other things as well, like films. Of course, the mega entertainment companies cannot let these numbers be known. In fact, if these numbers were to become known, these entertainment companies, these giant conglomerates, would have their stock prices completely collapse. And I'm sure you can assume why. They're barely getting views on most of their streaming shows, because most of it is garbage. And this is where we enter the doom loop. The strike is completely centered around labor compensation. Labor wants these numbers, and they want them so badly that they're willing to point to the mockery of Parrot Analytics to try and force the entertainment companies to bring up some real numbers. Seriously, everybody in entertainment now knows that Parrot Analytics is a farce. Even those that are suggesting Parrot, it just seems to indicate that they know how easy that is to manipulate. In fact, the media companies know that. The entertainment press knows that. We know that. So in order for these entertainment conglomerates to keep everything to themselves, their only hope is to try and get the writers and the actors to accept their "trust us, bro" statements. And they're doing this by starving them out on the strike. And they need to thin their ranks out and get them to the point of barely surviving and melt away that resolve that they seem to have at the moment. And above all else, the studios have to preserve their hidden numbers. They know the exposure would be their downfall, as mentioned before, resulting in, tumbling stock prices that would be catastrophic for the companies that have lost half their value over the last few years. Disney's weak to be sure, but believe it or not, Paramount and Warner are in worse financial footing in terms of market cap. So as long as there continues to be a strike, the loop will tighten. The studios are going to dig in and let more content fall into force majeure cancellation. Showrunners are going to lose their overall deals. It's already happening. Actors will lose opportunities at roles, and writers will be forced to work in other occupations, perhaps write their great novel, and so on. And all of this is due to a lack of transparency. Or to put it bluntly, honesty. There may well be a rising tide of entertainment in the future, I suppose, but it'll be coming out of a new independent movement without a glitzy name to start with. The bill always comes due, and it seems that this reckoning has finally arrived for Hollywood. And I don't see an easy way out of this. Frankly, I'm beyond caring. And yet, I have a positive outlook for the future. I find myself thinking that some of the great minds that I've met here in the last 3 years are more than capable of replacing the agenda-driven garbage shoveled our way for the last decade. Replacing it with positive, story-driven heroes' journeys that give everybody satisfaction in the end. I see that. Don't you? Do you see a way out of this for Hollywood amidst all this mess? When do you think the strike's going to end? I don't think it will until winter, maybe beyond. I guess those are all good questions. Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments section down below and hit that like button while you're down there. Share the video, of course, it really does help. It does grow this channel and I do appreciate it. This is going to be a fun one. I can't wait to talk about this with you. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.